Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo 2, rematch of a fight that we just saw in June. And the fans really wanted to see, at least the ones in my bubble online, wanted to see Cub Swanson in that fight. Cub Swanson is booked to fight December 9th against Brian Ortega in what is currently the last fight on his UFC contract. Very interesting scenario. One wonders if he had more fights on the contract, if he would have been plugged in to that title fight. Never had a UFC title fight before in just a few weeks. So I wanted to talk to Cub about this. He is kind enough to be joining us on the phone. Cub, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you for joining us, Cub. Appreciate the time. I recall when the news came out about Frankie, you posted a GIF, that one that everyone uses about the guy who's like, whoa. So when you saw this news, did you think that you would be called? Did you think that you would be the next man up?
Oh yeah. It was between me and Frankie, and then Frankie got it, and I was just, it was a tough pill to swallow, and, I got over it, and I thought for sure if anybody wouldn't pull out of a fight, it would be him, because I think he's the kind of guy that would, fight through a torn, knee or anything. But, I guess he has a fracture in his face or something, I'm not sure. And that's something that you can't fight through. So I was shocked when I found out that he was pulling out. And then I was like, wow, this is going to happen. I had such an amazing camp. I helped TJ train for his fight over here at Jackson's now. I'm ahead of schedule. This is just too perfect. And, I was trying to get a hold of the UFC, let them know. And they told me that they're trying to figure it all out. It's kind of madness. And then they told me that they were going to give it to Aldo.
Okay, so you did actually reach out to the UFC and say that you're willing to step in?
Yeah, of course.
Did they ever say that you're in consideration, that you're one of the guys we're looking at right now, that we're thinking about this? Did they give you any kind of glimmer of hope that you were in the running here?
Oh, yeah. The thing that I was kind of explaining that there's a lot of options that they had. And so them picking Aldo, it makes sense. He's on the card. If they would have pulled me, it would have created a lot of shuffling, which, is tough. But I was hearing they were throwing, other names in the mix, like Brian Ortega and Darren Elkins. And I was like, if that would happen, I would have flipped out, I was already kind of upset, but that would have been too much.
As I said at the top of the interview, you have one fight left on your deal, right? That hasn't changed, correct?
Correct.
Do you think that you didn't get this title fight because you only have one fight left and they can't risk, you winning the belt, becoming champion, and then being a free agent?
Well, that was never going to be an issue because I knew and they know that the fight wouldn't happen unless we made a deal, which I'm sure we could have made a deal.
Okay.
But that wasn't even offered. I haven't been offered a new deal since all of this happened. And Dana did say that he'd like to try to work something out, sit down and talk, after the fight. And no matter what happens, he said he wants to keep me around. But we could have came to terms before and made this fight happen. They know that.
Since the Lobov fight, have you had contract negotiations with them?
Yeah, and I deal with the matchmaker. I didn't deal with Dana directly. I never have. I've always just done it with Sean. And, they made me a good offer, comparatively to what a lot of guys make. And I explained to them that, hey, I'm getting on the later side of my career. I'm never been doing better. I have a family now, and it's like, if I'm going to start concentrating on like retirement and setting myself up so I'm not left with nothing at the end of the day, I should be getting, paid more. And I'd like to, the money that I have coming in, I'm investing, I'm doing all the right things. I'm not like blowing money. I'm not that guy. And it's like, man, if I had more money to work with, I could really set myself up. So that's what I'm fighting for.
So once you said that to them, where did things go? Did they say, all right, let's fight out the deal. Let's have you fight out the deal, and then we'll cross that bridge after your last fight? Did you then say, you know what, if you're not going to give me a good deal before this last fight, then let's just test the waters free agency wise? Where did you leave it after you explained that to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a combination of the pay, you know, wanting to get taken care of, and then a combination of opportunity. So I'm going to get paid the most if I fight for a title or hold a title. You know, that's when all the, you know, the big opportunities come. But I haven't had that opportunity. So, you know, I wanted to fight out of my contract only to, you know, see what other, you know, companies were going to offer me and be able to show the UFC, like, look, I'm worth this. You know, come on, step it up, because I want to fight in the UFC. I love it, but I also want to be taken care of and being paid what I'm worth, and, you know, show that I'm appreciated. I like that. You know, I'm old school, and you know, I'm looking back at all the people who have gotten title fights. You know, like Chad Mendez got multiple, Frank Edgar's gotten multiple, Aldo's gotten multiple, Korean Zombie got one out of nowhere. You know, Lamas has got one. You know, all the people at the top have all gotten them. And when Max took forever, Max to get one, I was very vocal about him deserving a title fight. So I just don't see why in 10 years with the company I couldn't have gotten one. I feel like maybe they just don't think that highly of me.
Have you expressed that to them? Did they say anything back?
Yeah, I've expressed that to them, and then it's always, you know, just a conversation and of giving me all the reasons why not.
And like, what are they saying? They like the reasons why you haven't been.
Oh,
given.
It's timing. Oh, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of factors, and you know,
okay,
it's just it's never going to be a straight up answer. You know.
Considering you didn't get the title shot here, that you like they didn't try to make a deal to make this fight happen for 218. Has this changed your stance about wanting to stick around?
I mean, it's very hard to see, like, you know, Dana told me that they want to make me happy. They want to, you know, they want to keep me around. He was very genuine about it when he said it. I just kind of find it hard to think that that's going to happen, you know, considering the circumstances. I mean, they could have made me happy really quick. And then they went a different route. So, yeah, like I said, I didn't even want to talk about all this kind of stuff. But I feel like I kind of have to give it any kind of chance of being reconciled. And, you know, I do have a fight, you know, on December 9th and against a great up and comer, Brian Ortega. So once I was, you know, we'll talk about this, we'll get it all out there, and then I'll be focusing on my fight again.
So all this happening this past week, you know, somewhat of an emotional roller coaster. Has it felt like a distraction from the fight that you originally had December 9th, which is still on against Ortega and Fresno?
Only for a split second, because I talked to them, and then I kind of accepted it. Everybody around me was like, "Man, they're going to give it to you. I know it." And I just kept saying, "Nah, I'm not. They're not going to give it to me. I just know it. It's too familiar. I know what it feels like to be in this situation and just not get it." So I kind of switched my mind frame, and all my training sessions were like, "Look, no adjustments. Keep the same guy," because I know what's going to happen already.
I ran a poll this morning, just a couple hours ago at like around 11:15 Eastern time, so like 4 hours ago, asking who the UFC should have put in this title fight. Already 14,000 people have voted. 48% voted in favor of you. Number 2 is Aldo at 39%. So it does seem like the fans were pulling for you. Did you get that impression as well online? Did you feel like a lot of people were pulling for you?
Yeah, I did. And I really appreciate that, because that's been the biggest thing for me, is getting the fans to kind of rally behind me. I've always said that if I'm not going to be that guy and that, you know, outspoken loudmouth that I don't really care for, if I can get the fans to really support me and back me up, then I wouldn't have to do that. And they did this time. And it's just, I think my fans are getting more upset than I am about this. And I that makes it a little easier, because I can appreciate that they see my pain and they feel it too.
And so now we have this situation where Aldo gets another shot against Max Holloway, and you seem to take the high road. You tweet at him, but some people couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic or not. You said congrats on getting another title shot, were you being sarcastic? Were you, sincerely
being genuine.
Oh, you were? Okay. Because you're not the sarcastic type. We know you're always a very classy guy, but people were kind of debating in the mentions, your mood, what you were trying to really say with that tweet.
No, I mean, I was hurt at the time. And I've always said that I wanted to be myself. When I decided to continue fighting and be open. And honestly, my feelings were hurt, honestly. And, but I wanted to give Aldo, a little shout out and say congrats. And because we all feel like we deserve it, and we all train really hard. We all make sacrifices at the top. So, I was just saying congrats sincerely.
Your feelings hurt because you weren't considered, because you weren't even, in the discussion. Is that accurate?
No, because I was in the discussion. It's just that I didn't get it. And it's just a lot of, feeling up at the top, like, man, I'm going to get the chance to fight for the title, and then, but not get it. It's like almost, but not enough, So, and then it frustrates me because I don't even read that much social media anymore, because I've just learned over the years, but like, people saying that I'm not fighting top opponents. I don't pick opponents. The UFC tells me who I fight, and I'm like, okay. The Artem Lobov fight, Dana called and asked me to take that fight. I took the fight. The Duho Choi fight, I was a huge underdog. He was like a top prospect. Like all these fights they're asking me to take, I take them, and then some of the fans are saying, well, I'm not fighting top competition. I'm like, okay, then what do I say about that?
After that tweet, Max Holloway actually responded to you and wrote, keep pushing, brother. Go do what all your fans know you can do, and bring Dana a silverback so they can't deny you. I'll see you again at the top. Did you see that tweet? And if so, what was your reaction when you saw him write back to you?
Yeah, I saw it, and I thought that was really cool. I thought it was classy, and I appreciate it, because I know that he recognizes that I'm up there and that I deserve it. And I think if it was his choice, that they would have taken me over Aldo. And I actually was, when they told me they were going to go with Aldo, I was still in the back of my head going, there's a chance they may say no, and unless they make him a good deal, because I don't think they were interested in that fight.
Yes, I actually heard the same, that he was pushing for you to get the fight. I heard some fans say to me, well, Cub was defeated by Holloway a couple of years ago in New Jersey. What is the difference, for those that may not know, between that Cub Swanson and the one who's on the winning streak now?
That was before I was working with a sports psychologist, and I really let the politics of the sport, which is kind of a position now, where I didn't know how to block some things out. And when I went into the fight, I was carrying so much in with me. And I really thought that I was better than Max everywhere. So I thought that I could just go in there and figure it out. I didn't really have a good, set game plan that I like to have in my mind when I just start going. And he beat me up. And not only that, I broke my hand in the first round. I broke my jaw in the second round, and I fought him for 3 rounds, and I gave it my all. And, after that, I took a year off. I ended up working with sports psychologists and just learning on how to, channel things and block certain things out and focus on the most important thing. And the most important thing is having a perfect performance. And I've been on a winning streak ever since. So, I did lose to him 2.5 years ago, but Aldo just lost to him. So what's the difference?
Do you think Holloway beats him again in December?
I think so. I think he started a little slow against Aldo the first time.
Yeah. And
then once he kind of figured Aldo out, he just, he was on point. And so I don't see much of a different fight.
What are the chances in your mind that the fight on December 9th is your last in the UFC?
I mean, it's a possibility. I really hope not, but I have to assume that that it's a possibility, because I know that I'm worth a lot, and I know my fans know that, I know the UFC knows that, but I got a new family. I got a beautiful little daughter, a girlfriend Kenda at home. So my goal is still to be the best version of myself and to, be financially secure when I retire. So I don't want to be forced to retire when at a certain point, or have to keep fighting longer than I'd like, because financially I'd like to be able to make a good amount and say, you know what, when I want to step away, I can do it on my own terms, because that's just who I am.
By the way, you're in Albuquerque right now, right?
Yes.
But your family is back home in California?
Yes.
How difficult is that for you, especially being a new dad?
I mean, it's tough. I was adjusting to living at home with a new daughter and starting to train and doing all that, and it was working out great. She's awesome. She sleeps through the night and lets us both sleep. So she's been pretty awesome. And having to get away from that, it's something that I have to do, because I need time to become that killer cub. I need to be a killer when I go in there, and I need time to focus before a fight. And I take this very seriously, and I always have for 10 years, and it's painful to be away from them. Miss them a lot, FaceTiming them a bunch, but I need this to be ready.
Last thing for you, Cub, and again, thank you for talking about this. I know you probably would rather just focus on the fight on December 9th, but if everything goes to plan against Ortega, great young fighter, undefeated, fantastic fight, you win that fight in Fresno, is part of the condition of re-signing with the UFC a title fight? Because one would think after you beat him, there's really no other fight. I mean, you could keep fighting these top guys, but I think a lot of people would like to see you get that title fight. In fact, not just saying it because you're here. I was pulling for you. I was hoping that they'd go in that direction, just because I feel like we saw the Aldo fight recently, and you've improved a lot, and it just felt like a fresh matchup. And so I'm wondering if you only re-sign with the UFC if you're guaranteed a title shot in your next fight, if all goes to plan on December 9th.
Yeah, that would definitely have to be, part of the terms. It'd be guaranteed title fight and guaranteed good money. That's the only way, and I'm sure they know that by now. But I'm in the position now where I have to go out there and be spectacular on December 9th. So that's my main motivation, and I best believe it's going to happen. Looking
forward to it. Again, thank you very much, Cub. Sorry it didn't work out. You'll be fighting the following week, and a chance to make a statement. Was hoping to see that you got the fight, and I know a lot of fans are disappointed as well. But thank you for coming on and talking about it. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for giving me a chance to get my voice out there, and to all my fans, just make sure you watch my fight December 9th, because I know they're going to want to see viewership up, and they're going to ask me if I deserve a title fight. They're going to want to see the numbers on the fight. So yep. If all my fans are watching, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Cub. Best of luck to you guys.
All right. Thank you.
There he is, Cub Swanson. Hard to find a classier guy in the biz.